Oh, hi. You're probably wondering why I'm not in the gaming room today. Well, actually, I'm outside the Manchester Arndale CeX store waiting for it to open. And why is that? Well, this is the Northwestern CeX tour, baby. But I'm not going to be doing this alone. I've got my best buddy Affie coming along with me. We're going to be visiting 14 stores in the Northwestern region.
14?
14.
Wow.
So hello fellow gamers, and this is the Northwestern CeX tour.
I can hear your intro music in my head.
Yes, you heard me right. Over the course of 2 days, Affie and I went on a tour around 14 stores in the Northwest. Specifically, we focused on many of the stores in Greater Manchester. Some I've visited before, and some I haven't. So, what are we going to find? Well, who knows? I know there are several games I'm after at some of these stores, but there are always surprises to be found. And what about Affie? What were they after? Alright, so Affie, are there any games that you're hoping to find in our tour today?
Yes, I'm looking for an original Xbox game called Arx Fatalis. It's by Arcane Studios, who most people know now that make Dishonored and recently Deathloop. I'm also short of a copy of Rayman Legends for my Wii U, so I'm going to be getting that as well, hopefully.
Ah, nice one. Well, let's hope that we find the games that you're looking for. Well, since we're at the Manchester Arndale store already, this seemed like a good place to start. Now this is my local haunt, and I've bought many games and systems from here already. Now if I can just get this tour out of the way without getting recognised.
Oh my god, you're the multi-gen gamer! I've seen you on YouTube!
Oh, I knew I'd get spotted eventually. Oh, well with that awkwardness out of the way, let's see what's on offer. And straight away in the window, I spotted a PS5 imported from Australia. Nah, but seriously, this thing's been upside down for weeks now. Will you sort it, guys, please? It's annoying me. There was also a lovely Halo Edition Xbox 360 with all of its beautiful translucentness. We also made a staggering revelation of the cost of a PlayStation 5 box.
Why these? So there's two different prices for the same thing. One's boxed. That makes sense.
Ah, so the box costs, what,
40 quid?
Yeah. Upon entering the store, we were met with a cabinet dedicated to more retro games like N64, PS1, Game Boy, Mega Drive, that kind of thing. Beside that were the PS5 and PS4 games, where we spotted a copy of Death Stranding Special Edition, complete with this steelbook. And it was marked the same price as the regular game as well. There's a bit of a dent there though.
Yeah, there is. Someone clearly tried to punch Norman Reedus in the eye.
Moving on to the Switch games, Minecraft stood out for me, but for a very different reason. It's 22 quid at the moment, second hand in here, but it's actually cheaper to just buy it new. Seriously, it is. And hey, it's not too late if you want a physical copy of Mario 3D All-Stars, there's loads of them here. Making our way towards the OG Xbox games revealed Stubbs the Zombie. I've been after this for a while, but it's always been quite expensive. But I am happy to see that over time it has been dropping in price slowly. It wasn't long ago that this was 55 quid. I wonder if this came with the manual. After a quick glance across their gaming hardware at the end of the store, it was time to move on to the next stop. That next stop, of course, was the Salford shopping centre, housing, amongst other things, our next CeX store. There wasn't anything outside, so we just wandered right in, where we were greeted with the Project Scorpio Xbox One X, as well as an OG Xbox. Oh man, these have shot up in price over the last few years. Speaking of OG Xbox, Affie spotted a copy of Voodoo Vince, which, at least going by its manual and extra flyers, was in damn good condition. It was in the Salford store where I spotted a good example of CeX's reprinted covers. These days, they're very much upfront about it, with a cutout in the corner showing that the cover is reprinted, rather than trying to hide it and slip their logo on the inside sleeve. I much prefer this. But obviously I'd rather get a game that's complete. Speaking of complete games, I spotted a title that you'd have to get if you wanted a complete PAL exclusive library. Teleaddicts for the DS, complete with the full Noel Edmonds experience. I think, yeah, £1.50 sounds about right. However, next to the Wii games in the PS2 section, I spied Burnout Dominator. It's one of the few good Burnout games from that generation that I haven't picked up yet. This might be worth a gander. Opposite from the PS2 section were the Xbox One titles, where Affie spotted the special edition of Sleeping Dogs. It didn't come in a case, but rather in a hardback book. I kinda like it when publishers do this. The Salford store also had a dedicated cabinet for the more retro titles and hardware, including an original grey N64 controller. You know, I could do with replacing mine. Anyway, moving on. Now on our way over to Leigh, it had been raining a bit, but we weren't going to let that discourage us. Here we are at store number 3. Walking into the store, we were greeted with a small selection of boxed N64 games, which is not something you see that often, as well as various other classic titles for Mega Drive, GameCube, Dreamcast and PlayStation 1. But opposite the cabinet, Affie spotted Rodia the Sky Soldier for the Wii U. It was one of the last big releases for the Wii U in its short lifetime, and it had a special edition that also included the Wii version. Gotta say, it is not a game that I see often, if at all. After checking through the rest of the Wii and the 3DS titles, we made our way over to the 360 games, and this is where Affie spotted 2 early games from the Batman Arkham series, and even one of them had a steelbook. These, I've heard, are great games even today, and at £2.50 a piece, that is definitely what I'd call a bargain. The next title to catch our eye was Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. Recently, Dragon's Dogma 2 was announced, so Affie wanted to get a hold of the first one, complete with its added content. And at £2, you can't sneeze at that. Moving further on, we noticed Elden Ring Special Edition for PS5 for a cheaper than new price if you're not concerned about the DLC. And naturally, Dark Souls followed shortly after. This is the Dark Souls trilogy for PS4 at £35. Not my cup of tea, but I'm sure it'll interest someone. After checking out the rest of the PS4 and Xbox One games, we moved on to the next store. And boom! Thanks to the power of editing, we're now outside the Wigan store. The first item I spotted was this blue PSP. I've always wanted to get one in this colour. And beside it, an extortionately priced copy of Pokemon Emerald. Seriously, what's the deal with this one? Opposite the Xbox One section, Affie spotted a gem amongst the GameCube games. Now at first, this just looks like Double Dash with an out-of-cardboard sleeve, and that's certainly how CeX have labelled it. However, this came from the limited edition GameCube bundle that released late 2003. It included a black GameCube with controller and this, Mario Kart Double Dash and the Zelda collection disc. This is a bargain because the Zelda disc alone sells for like 40 quid in these stores. Since though we already had both discs, we decided to leave it there for some other lucky soul to find. Besides the GameCube games, there were a couple of copies of Wonderful 101. This is a game that I've heard plenty of people rave about, but I've not tried it yet. Might be worth giving it a whirl. Like many of the other stores, Wigan's also had a glass cabinet for the more retro stuff, such as this PSP Street, which no one's going to want because it's offline only. But something people might want are these GameCube controllers. One white Smash Brothers Japanese import, and the other a Wavebird. Both of them were 70 quid though, so they're a smidge on the steep side, I think. There was also a grey N64 controller in here that looked in decent nick. I think fate is trying to get me to buy a new one. But a little further down though, we have Simpsons Hit and Run on PS2. This is another game that everyone raves on about, but I've never tried it. After checking out how loads switches have dropped since I last did one of these, we made our way to the next store. And here we are in Bolton, where we spied the original golden copy of Zelda on the NES. Well, not quite so golden anymore. Going inside, we spotted a pair of Xbox Elite controllers. Series 2 if you're into that sort of thing. I'm not sure I'd want to go for a second-hand one of these though. They've probably been beaten up to all hell. They've got plenty of PS5s at this store though. You know, if you get desperate. And they also had a handful of interesting SNES and N64 games as well. I'd like to get a hold of a couple of these. A quick scan through the 3DS games revealed something I'd not seen before. Oktoberfest, the game. I think I can hazard a guess what this game's themed around, which makes that 7+ PEGI rating a tad confusing to say the least. Over at the PS4 section, Affie spotted Zone of the Enders, a mech battling game by none other than Hideo Kojima. It's probably one I should be trying out, especially in VR. And my word, A JoJo game that isn't 80 quid? That's a first. But on that note, it was time to scarper. We didn't have long left on day one. And, damn, I've forgotten which store's next.
So dude, which store are we going to next?
CeX in Bury.
There we go.
Thanks to Affie's navigational wizardry, we found the Berry store, where, while checking out a golden Wii remote, we were jumped by a mysterious bearded assailant.
Yeah, there's nothing inside.
How are you doing?
Dude, what the hell? How's it going?
Not so bad.
We managed to coerce G to join us in checking out the Berry store, where we made a beeline straight over to the 360 section. And why? They had Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition here, which I really wanted to get. I'd recently been playing through the original, but this one includes all of the DLC as well. Nice one. Also amongst the 360 games was L.A. Noire, the Complete Edition, and it was only a $5 too. I mean, I've not played this myself, but I'm sure it'll interest someone. Behind us in the PS2 section was Resident Evil Outbreak, which doesn't pop up all that often. And speaking of uncommon games, Earth Defense Force 4.1 was in the PS4 section. I've never seen any of the Earth Defense games physically before, only digitally. After a bit more browsing through all the different parts of the store, nothing else really caught our attention. Though we did spot a stupidly priced game in one of the cabinets, Conker's Bad Fur Day, for N64, for over 100 quid. And then further along, the same game, boxed, for over 200 quid. There's absolutely no need for it. The game sold well in the UK, there's loads of copies here. CeX, sort yourselves out. The first day was drawing to a close, and we had just enough time to check out one last store, this time in Rochdale. Upon wandering in, we spotted two ridiculously priced GameCube games, Twilight Princess and The Thousand Year Door, at 90 and 120 quid respectively. Thank God I at least bought Twilight Princess when it first came out. But further down, I saw something that took my breath away. A gold N64 controller. It was only 20 quid and it looked in absolutely brilliant condition. Considering the limited run of these in the UK, that was a damn good price. Taking a browse around the rest of the store, we spied Stubbs the Zombie remake on PS4. Only £12 instead of $42 for the original, if you're interested. In the cabinets, I spotted another blue PSP Slim, and I was close enough to properly see its beautiful blue shine. I would definitely like to get one of these someday. We couldn't spend long in here though because it was close to closing, so we put our fares in order and we called it a day. Hello again, it's another day and another CEX store to visit, this time in Middleton. And straight away we spotted an OG DS on display, and at a decent price too. And further along there was a gold Zelda Game Boy Advance SP. It looked absolutely immaculate, which probably explains its 235 quid price. In the cabinets inside though, we spotted a bit of an omission.
Oh, well, I see a PS5 controller, empty space, a PS4 controller, empty space, PS4 controller.
PS4 controller and a PS4 controller.
Further down in the cabinet though, I spotted something that you don't see all that often. A PS2 compatible PS3. Oh, I'd love to see what the output of that's like with PS2 games. Speaking of PS2 games, I found one that I'd been after for quite a few years. SSX Tricky. Undeniably the best SSX game on PS2. Next to these in the PS3 section, Affie took a look at Little Big Planet Karting Special Edition, which was a Europe exclusive including the DLC and a 3D cover, which is always fun.
Oh, God, I hate it.
I love that.
Behind us was the 360 section, housing this lovely copy of Halo Wars Limited Edition for only £8, and it had everything and all. The steelbook, the patch, the book, everything, and it was in damn good nick too. Shame it's Halo Wars though. Next up were the DS and 3DS games, where we spotted Super Mario Maker 3DS for the same price as that Halo Wars Limited Edition. There was also this Sonic Classic Collection on DS, which even included Sonic 3. But after that, we had to head out, because we had a lot of ground to cover that day. And next up is Oldham. And oh boy does Oldham not disappoint. Right there, front and centre, was a Steam Deck for 850 quid. Nearly twice the RRP. Puts Conker's Bad Fur Day to shame. In the cabinets inside, there were plenty of PS1 and SNES games on display, as well as a couple of the more expensive Game Boy titles. But around the corner we saw a proper gem, the Metroid Dread Special Edition, complete in box. Now I grabbed this when it first came out, but Affie hadn't, so they were completely besotted with it. While I was reeling from the price of some of these DS games, Affie ambushed me with Dishonored Game of the Year Edition for the 360, and it was only $3.50. Bargain! I decided to come over to the 360 section myself, where something shiny caught my eye, the Injustice Gods Among Us Steelbook. This would have been a great find, if it weren't all bent out of shape. Round the corner in the PS3 section, there was the Elder Scrolls Oblivion Anniversary Edition. Now this is a game I'm always seeing available for Xbox, but I've never seen it for PlayStation. But if Skyrim on PS3 is anything to go by, with its serious lagging issues, this is probably best avoided. So after checking out a few more different sets of games, we moved on. Next up was Ashton-under-lyne store, and something that stood out for me as I walked in were these two practically perfect condition Sega Dreamcasts. They hadn't yellowed or anything, and they looked brand spanking new. Whoever gets these is going to be very happy. There was also an NES with absolutely no yellowing on it either. I don't know, maybe Ashton's the place to go for pristine looking games consoles. And hey, maybe for some uncommon accessories as well. Just round the corner we saw Link's crossbow training with the Zapper. Now this game is always in CEX, but you never see it with the Zapper. Well, until now. Further down in the same cabinet there was a series of yellow Game Boy colours. But one was not like the others. This middle one was the limited edition Pokemon one that came out alongside with Gold and Silver, if I recall. In the next cabinet along, there were a few extremely expensive PS2 games. Most of these I hadn't even heard of before. Wonder what makes them so expensive. After spending far too long at the cabinet, we finally got round to actually, hunting for games, which led us to the Xbox One section and this physical copy of Hades for only £6. Now it's not all great finds in here though. Check out this copy of Crazy Frog Racer 2 on PS2. Both the US and the UK were subjected to this game. Twice. Thankfully Japan was saved from this garbage. Now here's something different, Arkanoid DS. Basically a popular ball and paddle game, but now I think about it, this sort of game would work great on a DS. And a £3? Not too shabby. But what's not so different is what CeX did here with Okamiden on DS. Reprinted cover, third party case, selling it for £50. Just no. And this copy of Luigi's Mansion on 3DS. I'm not so sure this is in its original case. And at £35, again, just skip it. Now before I could find any more reboxed games, we had to move on. So, to Altrincham! And in Altrincham, they had a Mega Drive running right there in the window. You don't see that every day. But going inside revealed something I never thought was even a thing. There was a copy of the Wind Waker HD Collector's Edition in the cabinet, complete with a Ganondorf figurine. Oof, if I knew this existed, I would have gotten this instead of the one I ended up with. Further along, there was a PSVR adapter for the PS5, so if you missed out on all the free ones that Sony was sending out to everyone, rest assured you can get it at CEX for only 15 big ones. Further along in the Wii section, I spotted Pokemon Battle Revolution. It's not an overly great game on its own, but if you've got the original Diamond, Pearl or Platinum, this is a great game to pick up. And amongst the PS2 games, there was a copy of Gran Turismo's 2002 Tokyo Geneva, a game that didn't quite make its way over to the States. It's not a long game, but it's still great nonetheless. Definitely worth picking up if you like Gran Turismo. In the proper retro games cabinet, there were a heap of PS1 titles, including the Discworld games there. They also had an N64 expansion pack here, and at £40 as well, jeez! I don't remember spending that much when I bought it new in the 90s. Ooh, well, anyway, with that shocker out of the way, we had to head on to the next door. And once again, through the magic that is editing and post-production, we're here, instantly, at the Wythenshawe store. Having a browse through the cabinets, we saw Pokemon Soul Silver with the Pokewalker, £435. I mean, I'm just, what? But below that, there was something that was much more appealing. An emerald blue GameCube controller. I'd never seen one of these before, I'd only heard about them in Legends. Now here's something else that I hadn't seen before. Many of the retro games in this store were individually bagged here. Although it does introduce a bit more waste, I'm not against giving these older titles a little more protection. Further down the aisle in the PS2 section was a game that I'd never even seen, nor even could conceive in my imagination. Bomberman Hardball. Yep, this was a Bomberman game that includes various sports like golf, tennis and baseball. Not only that, but it was a Japan and Europe exclusive. You know, sometimes we do get the quirky ones. Finish off our visit in Wythenshawe, we spotted a copy of Hades on the Switch. This time, instead of being £6 like on the Xbox One, it was 38. Ugh, talk about Switch tax gone mad. And I bet it doesn't even include the art book nor the soundtrack either. Anyway, 2 stores left, let's get going. With 12 stores under our belt, we made our way into the 13th one in Stockport. Now this one has stung me on more than one occasion, so let's see what they have to offer this time. In the cabinet there was a crystal OG Xbox on display. I know this is sought after by many collectors. But further down the aisle was an Xbox 360 after my own heart. It had been kitted out with this Union flag decal all around it and, oh, gotta admit, it looked pretty damn good for it. Proper British. Moving on from the 360 system itself to one of its games, Affie found one of the titles that they were after on our tour. Remember Me. And good effort too. I mean, that's why we're doing this in the first place. Getting games that we want that aren't available at our local stores. A strange thing happened a little later though, where I spotted exactly the same game, this time on PS3. And I hadn't even heard of it before today. It's twice the price on PS3 for some reason though. Why? Well, if you know, leave a comment down below so the rest of us do too. Something else PlayStation related that I spotted in this store was Elite Dangerous on PS4. Now tread carefully if you're thinking of picking this up now, because it's no longer supported on console. You would be better off getting this game on PC where you can. Great game though. We finished off our visit at the Stockport store by glancing through the proper retro cabinet right at the end, where they had a number of rare titles present. However, I had a bit of a rage moment when I noticed that they put the Link's Awakening Game Boy cart in its case backwards. Oh my god, I'm not going to be able to sleep properly tonight now knowing about this. And here we are at the final leg of our CEX tour. The Denton store had a few special items to show off at us. The first being a Nikon zoom lens, which I can personally say vastly improves the Xbox 360's Connect in smaller rooms. Definitely worth picking up. And not to mention Cooking Mama Cookstar and Switch, a great title if you want to help someone else earn some Bitcoin. But further down the aisle was another copy of Hades on Xbox One, complete with its soundtrack code and manual. As I've said before, at £6, this is a bargain, especially considering its pending departure from Game Pass. Right after that, Affie spotted the Borderlands 3 Super Deluxe Edition, complete with a beautiful shiny steelbook. Now, as much as I wanted that, I couldn't commit to it personally as I'd never played a Borderlands game before, so I guess this one's going home with them. I did spot another beautiful steelbook though, this time for the PS4 with Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Now I've got very limited experience with the Monster Hunter series, but I know a good steelbook when I see one. I didn't pick this one up though, so hopefully someone in the Denton area will have found it, bought it, and love it. Phew! Okay, that's 14 stores, all done and dusted. It's time to head home and check out the fruits of our labour. So first off, what did Affie get? Well, they were kind enough to send over a short video and a photo of all their pickups. So first off there, we've got Metroid Dread Special Edition on Switch, of course. We've got Link's Crossbow Training, complete with the Zapper. Not often you see the Zapper too, so that's a great find. We've got Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen and Remember Me, both for the 360 that we mentioned earlier. And lastly, there's the Borderlands 3 Super Deluxe Edition and Hades, both for Xbox One. So, like, it was all Nintendo and Xbox. Where's the PlayStation love? But I digress, some excellent pickups there. But what did I get? First one up is Burnout Dominator. I was interested in this one because I already had Burnout 3 Takedown and Burnout Revenge, a great series of racing games if you've not tried them yet, somehow. I then picked up both of these Batman Arkham games on 360, Asylum and City. I've given each of them a quick whirl and, I'm rather liking them. Good choices. And finally, after all these years, I can say that I own and have played Simpsons Hit and Run. Damn good fun, and worth playing by anyone who likes the classic Simpsons. Next, I decided to pick up Wonderful 101 since it's been recommended so much. Graphically beautiful for an early Wii U game, but trying to draw out the different powers on the gamepad is a bit hit and miss. Might need a bit more practice with that. Another game I've been after for so many years, it's Killer Instinct Gold. This was the very first game I played on N64, and that was before it even launched. I've wanted to get the game ever since, and now I have. Now luckily I haven't finished New Vegas yet, else I wouldn't been able to continue my story with all the DLC that the Ultimate Edition brings. They're all installed and ready to roll, and I cannot wait. Even though I've already got Donkey Kong Country on my SNES Mini, well, you gotta get the original, haven't you? A classic 16-bit platformer if I ever saw one. Now for another game I've been after for quite a while, I finally got the best SSX game on PS2. Whenever I tried to look for it, everywhere only had like SSX 3, but this is the one I used to play back in the PS2 era, gotta love it. Now for a big one, it's the original Stubbs the Zombie on OG Xbox. It's come recommended by so many people, but the game has always been a bit steep, and even though I've already got the re-release on Xbox One, I decided to take the plunge and get this one too. Now, come on, how could I not get Bomberman Hardball as soon as I saw it? I love the Bomberman series, and this spin-off just seemed like all different sorts of madness. Not only is its classic battle mode really nicely put together, all the sports are really neat too. Should make for a great local play party game. At the end of the tour, I decided to grab that copy of Hades. You can't sneeze at £6, can you? I'm looking forward to giving this a go for the first time. Maybe I could stream it. Maybe. Now, I didn't actually buy Borderlands 3, but instead, Affie gifted me their copy. I mean, why keep a hold of this one when you've got the Super Deluxe Edition, right? I've given it a quick go, and you know, I'm liking it more than I was expecting. Cheers, buddy. The shiny sexiness of the gold N64 controller was just too much for me to resist. I had to have it. Now on closer inspection there are a couple of little marks, but overall it's in great nick considering its age. And the joystick still works perfectly fine, no horrible grinding noises or anything. Sweet. Oh, now I'm sure there was something else that I picked up from CEX. Oh, what was it now? It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, that's right, I picked up that launch PS3, the one that plays PS2 games and all. Now it's true, the ones released over here only had software emulation for PS2 games, but the few games I've tried on it, they work just fine, as does the rest of this 60GB PS3. I want to see if I can make this my ultimate PS3 with a massive SSD, custom firmware, and, if possible, have all of my PS1, 2 and 3 games on here. If you're interested in seeing how that goes, let me know in the comments below. Now on our tour, we didn't just go to the CEX stores, we also took a look at various different cash generators and cash converters stores and all, to see what they had on offer. And we did find a couple of goodies. One of the non-CEX games was Jet Set Radio. It's yet another game peeps have been recommended to me on the Dreamcast, and it was £7 cheaper than what CEX was asking. There was also a physical copy of PSVR Worlds available. I got this already with my PSVR, but it was only a digital copy. Now though, I can add this to my physical collection. Now you know me, I love myself a good steelbook, and this shiny Killzone Shadowfall one stood out amongst, well, you know, all the boring plastic ones. At a £5, it was more than worth adding to the collection. But none of these compare to this last find, something I've been wanting to get for so many years. Now, isn't this beautiful? A PS1 complete with the official screen, and other than one tiny little mark, it's damn close to perfect condition. The screen is scratch-free and the whole thing works perfectly. I've wanted a little PS1 with the official screen for many years now, but these days they're grossly overpriced. However, this one was a really good price in one of the cash generators. Absolutely f***ing stoked for this. So that's everything. 2 new consoles, a new controller, and 16 games for 9 different platforms. That is one heck of a haul. And of course, thank you Affie for coming along for the ride, keeping me company and helping to find some bargains. I'm just glad to have helped you find a few gems for yourself as well. Have you been on a video game store tour? Tell us your stories and what you found in the unlikeliest of places down below in the comments. And hey, while you're down there, please leave a like if you like the tour, and there's always that subscribe button if you want to hear more from me. I'm off to play all these games now, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.